Picture this moment. You're standing at a crossroads. One path is familiar, safe, predictable. The other is uncertain, challenging, unknown. Your heart pounds. Your mind races with questions. What if I fail? What if I lose everything? What if this is the biggest mistake of my life? So you choose the safe path. You tell yourself it's wise, responsible, logical. But years later, lying awake at 3 in the morning, you wonder about the road not taken, the dream you didn't chase, the words you didn't say, the person you could have become. Here's a truth that might shake you. The biggest risk in life isn't taking chances, it's pretending that staying still carries no risk at all. Today, we're exploring a book that will completely transform how you see every choice you make. This is You Are What You Risk by Michele Wucker. And what you're about to discover is this: you're not just shaped by the risks you take, you're shaped by the risks you refuse to see, the risks you ignore, the risks hiding in plain sight. Let's begin this journey together. What is the core message of You Are What You Risk? Michele Wucker reveals that risk isn't something to fear or avoid, it's something to understand and embrace strategically. The book teaches that every decision, including doing nothing, carries risk. Your identity, relationships, career, and fulfillment are all shaped by how you perceive and respond to risk. Wucker introduces the Gray Rhino concept, obvious, visible threats we choose to ignore, and explains how recognizing your personal risk patterns can transform your life. The essential truth? Avoiding risk doesn't eliminate it. It simply means you're choosing risks unconsciously rather than deliberately. Part 1. The risks we don't see. Let me tell you about Michael. He's 37 years old. He works at the same company he joined right after college. 15 years. Same cubicle, same commute, same routine. Every morning he wakes up, makes coffee, drives the same route, sits at the same desk, attends the same meetings. Michael believes he's living a safe life. No risks, no drama, stability. But here's what Michael doesn't see. Late at night, when the house is quiet and his family is asleep, Michael stares at the ceiling. There's a heaviness in his chest he can't name. It's not quite sadness. It's not quite anger. It's something deeper. It's the quiet realization that 15 years have passed, and he's not sure what he has to show for it beyond a paycheck and a title that doesn't excite him anymore. He had dreams once. At 22, fresh out of college, he wanted to start his own business. He wanted to travel. He wanted to write. But life happened. Bills needed paying. Security felt responsible. The dreams got quieter, then silent. Michael thinks he avoided risk, but Michele Wucker would tell him something different. Michael didn't avoid risk. He chose a different kind of risk. He risked his purpose, his potential, his aliveness. He risked becoming someone he doesn't recognize. This is where Wucker's book becomes profound. We've been conditioned to think of risk as something loud and dramatic, starting a business, moving to a new country, making a bold career change. But risk is far more subtle and far more present than we realize. Risk is in every choice, in every moment of staying still, in every word left unsaid. Wucker reveals a fundamental truth. You are always at risk. Always. The question isn't whether you'll face risk. The question is, which risks will you choose? And if you're not choosing consciously, you're still choosing. You're just choosing by default, by fear, by inertia. Think about it honestly. When you stay in a job that drains your soul because you're afraid of uncertainty, you're taking a risk. You're risking years of your life. You're risking your mental health. You're risking waking up at 50 and not recognizing the person in the mirror. When you don't have that difficult conversation in your relationship because you're scared of conflict, you're taking a risk. You're risking intimacy. You're risking connection. You're risking building a life with someone who doesn't truly know you. When you keep your ideas, your voice, your creativity locked inside because you're terrified of judgment, you're taking a risk. You're risking never knowing what you're capable of. You're risking dying with your music still inside you. Wucker calls this risk perception, and she reveals something open-eyeing. Most of us are terrible at it. We fear the wrong things. We overestimate some dangers while completely ignoring others. We're terrified of public embarrassment, but not of living a life that never truly reflects who we are. We're scared of financial uncertainty, but not of emotional bankruptcy. Understanding your relationship with risk, Wucker explains, is like understanding your relationship with yourself. It reveals your values, your fears, your hidden beliefs about what you deserve and what you're capable of achieving. Practical application. Right now, take a moment. Ask yourself, what risks am I taking by not changing, by staying where I am? Write them down. Be brutally honest. You might be risking your health by not setting boundaries. You might be risking genuine connection by hiding behind a mask. You might be risking your dreams by waiting for someday. This isn't about judgment, it's about clarity. The life you're not living is also a choice, and that choice carries weight. It carries consequence. It carries its own form of risk that you've been pretending doesn't exist. Have you ever felt trapped in a comfortable situation, knowing deep down something needed to change? Share your thoughts in the comments. Part 2. The Gray Rhino charging towards you. Now let me introduce you to the most powerful concept in this entire book. Michele Wucker calls it the Gray Rhino, and once you understand it, you'll see it everywhere, in your life, in the news, in the world around you. Imagine you're standing in an open field. The sun is shining. It's a beautiful day. And then, in the distance, you see it. A massive rhino, 2 tons of muscle and horn. It's not hiding, it's not camouflaged. It's standing right there, completely visible, staring directly at you. And then it starts moving, slowly at first, one heavy step after another. You can see it, you can hear it. There's no ambiguity. This rhino is charging towards you. You have time to move, time to prepare, time to get out of the way. But you don't move. You stand there watching it come closer. You tell yourself, maybe it'll turn. Maybe it's not really coming for me. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe it'll stop. And you wait. And the rhino keeps charging. And you keep waiting. Until it's too late. This is a gray rhino. It's a highly probable, high-impact threat that is obvious, visible, and coming straight towards you. Yet you choose to ignore it until it's too late. And according to Wucker, our lives are full of gray rhinos everywhere. That relationship that's been slowly deteriorating for months. You see it happening, the distance growing, the conversations getting shorter, the laughter fading. But you tell yourself it's just a phase. You'll work on it later. Later never comes. That health issue you keep ignoring, the pain that comes and goes, the exhaustion that's becoming normal, the warning signs your body keeps sending. You see them, you feel them, but you're too busy, too scared, too convinced it's nothing. That financial problem that's creeping building, the credit card debt creeping up, the savings account that's empty, the retirement you haven't planned for. It's all visible, all obvious, but thinking about it feels overwhelming, so you don't. That project at work that's heading towards disaster. Everyone can see it, everyone knows, but no one wants to be the person who speaks up. So everyone pretends, everyone waits, until the disaster actually happens.
Wucker distinguishes gray rhinos from black swans, those rare, unpredictable events that blindside us. Black swans are the unexpected, the unforeseeable. But gray rhinos are the opposite. They're expected, they're foreseeable, they're charging right at us in broad daylight. And that's exactly what makes them so dangerous. Because we convince ourselves we have time. We'll deal with it tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. We minimize, we rationalize, we look away until we can't anymore. Wucker shares powerful examples. The 2008 financial crisis? Not a black swan. It was a gray rhino. Experts had been warning for years. The signs were everywhere, but denial felt easier than action. Climate change? The ultimate gray rhino. Decades of data, science, visible changes, all ignored because addressing it requires difficult, uncomfortable choices. But let's bring this closer to home. Let's talk about your gray rhinos. Maybe it's that career you've been meaning to change, the one that stopped fulfilling you years ago. You see the rhino charging, your energy draining, your passion fading, your resentment growing. But you wait, because change is scary, because you've invested so much time already, because you're not sure what else you do. Maybe it's that friendship that's turned toxic, the one where you always give and rarely receive, where you feel small, criticized, unsupported. You see it clearly, but they're an old friend, you have history, so you tolerate, you minimize, you pretend it's okay. Maybe it's your own mental health, the anxiety that's no longer occasional but constant, the depression that's coloring everything gray, the stress that's become your normal. You see it affecting your life, your relationships, your body, but getting help feels like admitting weakness, so you push through until you can't. Here's what Wucker teaches us. Acknowledging the gray rhino doesn't mean you have all the answers. It doesn't mean you have to solve everything immediately. It simply means you stop pretending it's not there. You stop waiting for it to magically disappear. You stop lying to yourself that you have infinite time. You look at it. You name it. You say, I see you. You're real, and I need to make a choice. Practical application. Right now, identify one gray rhino in your life, one obvious threat you've been ignoring. Don't judge yourself for ignoring it. Just see it clearly. Write it down. Then ask, what is one small step I can take today to begin addressing this? Not solving it completely, just beginning. Maybe it's scheduling that doctor's appointment. Maybe it's having that honest conversation. Maybe it's looking at your bank statement. Maybe it's reaching out for help. One step, that's all. Emotional takeaway. The things you see coming but choose to ignore don't disappear. They compound, they grow, they charge faster, and one day they arrive. The only question is, will you be ready, or will you still be pretending they weren't coming? Have you been ignoring a gray rhino in your life? What would it take to finally face it? Share in the comments. Part 3. The risk of staying comfortable. Let me tell you about Elena. She's 42, married for 17 years, 2 kids, a house in the suburbs. From the outside, everything looks perfect, comfortable, safe. But inside, Elena feels like she's disappearing. She can't remember the last time she felt truly seen by her husband. Their conversations are logistics, kids' schedules, grocery lists, bills to pay.
They sleep in the same bed, but live in different worlds. She's thought about leaving, she's imagined a different life, but she stays because it's easier, because divorce is messy, because what if she regrets it? What if the grass isn't greener? So Elena chooses comfort. She chooses familiar. She chooses predictable. But Walker would ask Elena a different question. What are you risking by staying? This is one of the most uncomfortable truths in the book. We tend to think of risk only in terms of action, the risk of leaving, of changing, of trying something new. But Walker flips the script. She shows us that staying, maintaining the status quo, choosing comfort, these are also risks, often bigger risks than the ones we're afraid of. When you stay in a marriage that's lost its spark because divorce feels scary, you're not avoiding risk. You're choosing the risk of living half a life. You're risking years of emotional disconnection. You're risking modeling a loveless relationship for your children. You're risking waking up at 60 and realizing you haven't been truly happy in decades. When you stay in a city you've outgrown because moving feels overwhelming, you're not playing it safe. You're risking never finding the place where you truly belong. You're risking missing opportunities that only exist elsewhere. You're risking a quiet regret. When you stay silent about your needs, your boundaries, your truth, because speaking up might create discomfort, you're not keeping the peace. You're risking your authenticity. You're risking resentment. You're risking relationships built on pretense rather than reality. Walker explains that humans are wired for comfort. Our brains are designed to conserve energy, avoid threats, and maintain stability. This served us well when survival was the main concern. But in modern life, this wiring often keeps us stuck in situations that slowly drain us, one comfortable day at a time. She introduces the concept of risk homeostasis, the idea that we all have a personal comfort zone when it comes to risk. Some people have a high tolerance, they're natural risk takers. Others have a low tolerance, they crave stability and predictability. Neither is right or wrong, but here's the key. If you never step outside your risk comfort zone, you never grow. You never discover what you're capable of. You never experience the fullness of life. Think about every significant moment of growth in your life. Every time you became more of who you're meant to be. Chances are it involved discomfort. It involved risk. It involved leaving something familiar behind. Your first day at a new school, your first relationship, your first job, moving away from home, having a difficult conversation, standing up for yourself, trying something you might fail at. None of these felt safe, but they shaped you. They revealed you to yourself. Walker shares the story of people who, late in life, were asked about their biggest regrets. Universally, they didn't regret the things they tried and failed at. They regretted the things they never tried, the words they never said, the dreams they never pursued, the person they never allowed themselves to become. They regretted the risks they didn't take far more than the risks they did. Practical application. Ask yourself this question. If I continue on my current path, making the same choices, staying in the same situations, who will I be in 5 years, 10 years? Be honest. Does that person excite you, fulfill you, make you proud? If the answer is no, then comfort isn't serving you. It's costing you. Now ask, what is one uncomfortable action I could take this month that might move me toward the person I actually want to become? Don't overthink it, just identify it, write it down, and consider what are you really risking if you don't. Emotional takeaway. Comfort is seductive. It whispers that staying is safe, But comfort can be a cage disguised as a cozy room, and one day you might realize you've been locked inside and you've forgotten where you put the key. Have you ever stayed in a situation too long because it felt easier than leaving? What did it cost you? Share your story in the comments. Maybe you grew up in a household where money was tight and every expense felt like a threat. Now, as an adult, even when you have financial stability, spending money on yourself creates anxiety. You've internalized the belief that resources are scarce and risk is dangerous. Maybe your parents were overprotective, constantly warning you about everything that could go wrong. Now you're 40 years old and you still hear their worried voices every time you consider trying something new. You've learned that safety is the highest value, even when safety means a smaller life. Maybe you were praised only for achievements, never for effort. So you learned to avoid any situation where you might not excel. You became a perfectionist who only takes risks where success is nearly guaranteed. You've traded growth for the appearance of competence. But here's the liberating truth Wucker offers. Your risk fingerprint isn't permanent. It's not your destiny. It's simply your starting point. And with awareness, you can change it. She shares the story of a woman named Jennifer. Jennifer was terrified of public speaking, absolutely terrified. The thought of standing in front of people made her physically ill. She'd built her entire career around avoiding it. But Jennifer began to trace this fear back. She remembered being called on in 3rd grade, giving a wrong answer and hearing classmates laugh. That single moment, decades ago, had shaped her entire adult relationship with visibility and risk. Once Jennifer saw this clearly, something shifted. The fear didn't disappear, but it lost its power. She realized she was living her entire life based on the judgment of 8-year-olds from 30 years ago. So she started small. She spoke up in a small meeting, then a larger one. Then she volunteered to give a presentation. Each time the fear was there, but each time she proved to herself that she could survive it. She could even thrive in it. Jennifer rewrote her risk fingerprint, one uncomfortable moment at a time. Wucker explains that rewriting your relationship with risk requires 3 things. First, awareness. You have to see your patterns clearly. When do you freeze? When do you overreact? When do you avoid? When do you leap without looking? There's no judgment here. Just observation. Second, questioning. You have to ask yourself, is this fear protecting me or is it limiting me? Is this belief still true or is it just familiar? Am I responding to what's actually in front of me or am I responding to something from my past? Third, practice. You have to deliberately take small risks that stretch your comfort zone. Not reckless risks, not life-altering gambles, just small, manageable steps outside your familiar patterns. Practical application. This week, try this. Identify one area where you consistently avoid risk. Maybe it's social situations. Maybe it's creative expression. Maybe it's honest communication. Maybe it's trying new things. Then do something tiny in that area. If you avoid social risk, start a conversation with a stranger. If you avoid creative risk, share something you made. If you avoid emotional risk, tell someone how you really feel. Notice what happens. Notice that you survived. Notice that the world doesn't end. Notice that you're more capable than your fear tells you you are. Emotional takeaway. You are not your fear. You are not your past. You are not the stories you've been telling yourself about what you can and cannot handle. You are someone who can grow, who can change, who can become braver than you ever imagined. What childhood experience shaped how you see risk today? Can you trace a current fear back to its origin? Share in the comments. Part 5. Living a life worth the risk. Let me paint you a picture of 2 lives. The first life is careful, measured, protected. Every decision is run through a mental risk calculator. Every opportunity is weighed against every possible thing that could go wrong. This person lives a life of few surprises, few disappointments, few failures, but also few truly joyful moments, few genuine connections, few memories that take their breath away. They reach old age having avoided most pain, but they've also avoided most aliveness. The second life is different. This person takes risks, not recklessly, not foolishly, but deliberately. They've tried things and failed. They've been hurt. They've made mistakes they can't undo. They've faced rejection, loss, uncertainty. But they've also loved deeply. They've created things that matter. They've stood for something. They've experienced moments of pure electric aliveness. They've become someone they're proud of. They reach old age with scars, but also with stories, with fullness, with a life that was truly deeply lived. Wucker doesn't advocate for recklessness. She's not telling you to quit your job without a plan, or gamble your savings, or burn all your bridges. That's not what this book is about. What she's saying is this: a life lived in fear of risk is not a life fully lived. And more importantly, it's not even a life free of risk. It's simply a life where you've handed control over to fear, rather than to wisdom, to values, to purpose. She introduces the concept of positive risk-taking, the idea that some risks are worth taking not because of the danger, but because of the potential growth, meaning, and fulfillment on the other side. When you risk vulnerability in a relationship, yes, you might get hurt, but you also might experience genuine intimacy for the first time in your life. When you risk starting that creative project, yes, you might create something imperfect, but you also might discover a part of yourself you never knew existed. When you risk having that difficult conversation, yes, it might be uncomfortable, but you also might finally be seen and understood in a way you've been craving. When you risk leaving the job that's draining you, yes, there's uncertainty ahead, but you also might find work that makes you excited to wake up in the morning. Wucker shares a powerful framework for deciding which risks are worth taking. She suggests asking yourself 3 questions. 1. What am I risking if I do this? 2. What am I risking if I don't? 3. Which risk aligns with the person I want to become and the life I want to live? Often, when we honestly answer these questions, the path becomes clear. Not easy, but clear. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're considering leaving a stable but unfulfilling job to pursue work that genuinely excites you. What are you risking if you do it? Financial uncertainty, potential failure, judgment from others, the comfort of routine. What are you risking if you don't? Your passion, your purpose, years of your precious limited life, the possibility of looking back with regret.
Which risk aligns with who you want to become? Only you can answer that, but the question itself changes everything. Wucker closes with a reflection that stayed with me long after I finished the book. She writes that at the end of your life, you won't remember the days you played it safe. You won't treasure the moments you chose comfort over growth. You won't look back fondly on the times you stayed silent, stayed small, stayed stuck because you were afraid. You'll remember the moments you were brave, the times you chose love over fear, the conversations you had, the things you created, the leaps you took, the person you became by refusing to let fear make all your decisions. You'll remember the life you actually lived, not the life you spent protecting. Practical application. Here's my challenge to you. Not someday, not when the timing is perfect, today. Identify one risk you've been avoiding, one that deep down you know is worth taking, not because you are what you risk. Your life is shaped not by what you avoid, but by what you're willing to face, to try, to become. And the most beautiful thing? You get to choose. Every single day, you get to choose. What risk have you been avoiding that deep down you know might change everything? Share it in the comments. You might inspire someone else to be brave too. FAQs section. FAQ 1. What is a gray rhino and how is it different from a black swan? A gray rhino is a highly probable, high-impact event that we can see coming but often choose to ignore. Unlike a black swan, which is rare and unpredictable, a gray rhino is obvious and foreseeable. Think of it like this. A black swan is lightning striking out of nowhere. A gray rhino is a train you see coming down the tracks from a mile away, but convince yourself will somehow stop or turn before it reaches you. In our personal lives, gray rhinos include deteriorating health we ignore, relationships we know are failing, career paths we know aren't working, and financial problems we keep putting off. The danger isn't that we can't see them coming, it's that we actively choose not to act until it's too late. FAQ 2. How can I tell if I'm taking too much risk or not enough? The key is understanding your risk fingerprint, your unique relationship with risk, shaped by your past experiences, beliefs, and fears. You're likely taking too little risk if you feel stuck, unfulfilled, or constantly regret things you didn't do. Signs include avoiding difficult conversations, staying in situations you've outgrown, and feeling like life is happening to you rather than being actively created by you. You're likely taking too much risk if you're acting impulsively without considering consequences, ignoring obvious warning signs, or consistently burning bridges. Healthy risk-taking involves conscious choice, understanding what you're risking, why it matters, and how it aligns with your values and goals. It's not about fearlessness, it's about courage, feeling the fear, and choosing wisely anyway. FAQ 3. What if I took a risk and failed? How do I bounce back? Failure from taking a calculated risk is fundamentally different from failure that comes from ignoring obvious problems or making impulsive choices. When you take a thoughtful risk and it doesn't work out, you've gained 3 invaluable things: self-knowledge, experience, and proof of your courage. To bounce back, first, separate the outcome from your identity. The risk didn't work, but that doesn't mean you're a failure. Second, extract the lessons. What did you learn? What would you do differently?
Third, reconnect with why you took the risk in the first place and assess whether that motivation still matters. Often, taking a risk and failing reveals that you're more resilient than you thought. The people who live with the least regret aren't those who never failed. They're those who tried, learned, and kept choosing courage over comfort. How can I get better at recognizing risks before they become problems? Improving your risk perception starts with honest self-awareness. First, identify your blind spots, the areas where you consistently ignore warning signs. For some people, it's health. For others, it's relationships or finances. Second, create regular risk check-ins with yourself, perhaps monthly, where you explicitly ask, what am I ignoring? What am I pretending isn't a problem? What would I tell a friend in my situation? Finally, seek outside perspectives. People close to you often see your gray rhinos more clearly than you do. Finally, pay attention to your feelings. Anxiety, dread, and that vague sense that something's off are often your intuition trying to warn you about risks you're consciously avoiding. The goal isn't to become paranoid about every possible threat. It's to stop lying to yourself about the ones that are already visible and charging towards you. We've been on a journey together, from invisible risks to gray rhinos charging towards us, from comfortable cages to courageous choices, from fear-based living to a life deliberately chosen. If there's one truth I hope you carry with you from Michele Wucker's You Are What You Risk, it's this: you cannot avoid risk. You can only choose which risks you'll take. Every morning you wake up, you're making risk decisions, whether you realize it or not. Staying is a risk. Leaving is a risk. Speaking is a risk. Silence is a risk. Action carries risk. So does inaction. The question isn't how to eliminate risk from your life. The question is which risks align with the person you're becoming. Which risks honor your values, your growth, your one precious life. Time is the ultimate gray rhino, isn't it? We see it coming. We know it's charging towards us. We know our days are limited, our opportunities finite, our chances to become who we're meant to be not infinite. But yet we act as though we have forever. We wait for the perfect moment. We convince ourselves there's always tomorrow. But what if there isn't? What if this life, this moment, this opportunity right in front of you is your one chance? What would you risk then? What would you stop avoiding? What would you finally courageously choose? Here's what I've learned, both from this book and from life. The people who live with the least regret aren't those who avoided pain, failure, or discomfort. They're the ones who stopped letting fear make all their decisions. They're the ones who looked at their gray rhinos and said, I see you, and I'm going to deal with you. They're the ones who chose meaning over comfort, growth over safety, aliveness over numbness. They didn't eliminate risk, they befriended it, they understood it, they made it work for them rather than against them. And you can too. I don't know what risks you're facing right now. I don't know what gray rhinos you've been ignoring. I don't know what comfortable situation has become a cage or what dream you've been too afraid to pursue. But I know this: you're capable of more courage than you think. You're stronger than your fear tells you. You're more resilient than you've given yourself credit for. And the person you're meant to become, that person is waiting for you on the other side of the risks you've been avoiding. Not reckless risks, not foolish gambles, but meaningful, purposeful risks that align with your deepest values and your truest self. So here's my invitation to you. Don't wait for someday. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until you feel completely ready, because you'll never feel completely ready for things that truly matter. Start today. Identify one gray rhino. Take one small step outside your comfort zone. Have one honest conversation. Make one brave choice. And then see what unfolds. Because you are what you risk, and you deserve a life that's fully, courageously, authentically lived. If this journey resonated with you, if something in this story stirred something in your heart, I'd be grateful if you'd take a moment to like this video. It helps others who might need this message find their way here. And if you found value in this exploration, consider subscribing to Ladder Up English. We're building a community of people who are choosing growth over comfort, courage over fear, and aliveness over autopilot. This is just one stop on a much longer journey, and I'd be honored to have you walking alongside. Share this with someone who might need to hear it. You know who they are, that friend who's been stuck, that family member who's been playing it too safe, that person who needs permission to be brave. Leave a comment below. Tell me, what risk have you been avoiding? What gray rhino are you finally ready to face? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to take their first brave step. Remember, you are what you risk. Choose wisely. Choose courageously. Choose a life worth living. I'll see you in the next story.